I'm Catherine, Certified Nutrition Consultant with Foods That Heal You, and today I'm going to talk about water. I'm going to review 4 different types of water, how much water you should be drinking, and what type of water is the best water to be drinking. About 70% of our body is water. And the first step to getting healthy can be as easy and simple as drinking clean water. Okay, so the first type of water I'm going to talk about is tap water. So if you're drinking tap water, you're getting a lot of pollutants. It's really not healthy. Tap water has chlorine and fluoride. Both chlorine and fluoride block thyroid production. They're also toxins. Tap water also has pesticides, herbicides, it has drug residue, parasites. It's very unclean, and yes, the government cleans the water, but I can tell you that their standards are not super high. So tap water is not a healthy water to be drinking. That's the one water that I would say if you're drinking tap water, you really need to switch to one of these other types of water that I'm going to discuss here, okay? So that's the first type of water is tap. The second type I'm going to talk about is filtered water. So there's different types of filtered water. You can have the filtered water that a lot of people have the carbon filter, like on your refrigerator, you might have a carbon filter. Or on your tap, you might have one of those little gadgets that twists onto your tap. Or you might have the pitcher, the Brita filter. Those are carbon filters, and those only filter out chlorine. They are not going to filter out the fluoride, the drug residue, the parasites, the pesticides, the herbicides. So your water is still going to be loaded with bacteria and unhealthy toxic waste. So although carbon filter is a little bit better than tap, it's really not much better than tap. So that's one type of filtered water I actually don't recommend. The other types of filtered water that I do recommend, there's 3 of them. There's reverse osmosis, distilled, and a Berkey system. Okay, so distilled water would be the simplest way for someone who, if you don't have a filter, you don't have a reverse osmosis filter at your tap, which you can buy those. If you don't have that and you don't have a Berkey system, which you can Google Berkey, it's Berkey. I'll review that a little bit more here, but if you don't have any of these systems, you can go to the store and you can get gallons or 5-gallon jugs of distilled water. That's going to be the best way to go if you don't currently have a system and you're not in the market to buy a system, okay? So reverse osmosis and distilled, they both are going to strip pretty much everything out. They're going to clean your water 99% clean. Distilled is probably a step better actually than reverse osmosis, but it's hard to have like a distilling machine in your house. The reverse osmosis is just a little bit more handy because you can get a tap put under your sink. But either way, I'm not going to go too much into that, but they will strip all of the nutrients, all of the bad, all of the good, everything out. So if you have distilled or reverse osmosis, you're going to want to remineralize your water because you do need some minerals. You need, and what you can use, the simplest way to remineralize your water, there's other ways, but I'm only going to talk about sea salt. Unrefined sea salt is the simplest, most cost-effective way to remineralize your distilled or your reverse osmosis water. And you can even put this in spring water, which I'll discuss in a little bit here though. But make sure if you get unrefined that it's unrefined and not table salt. It should have a little bit of color to it. Pink salt's great. Himalayan salt's great. I just happen to use real salt, okay? So that's how you can remineralize if you have reverse osmosis or distilled. Then Berkey, now the nice thing about the Berkey system, it's a giant steel container. You put it on your countertop and it's fairly new, but you pour water in there and it purifies it. But the nice thing about the Berkey system is it keeps the good minerals in your water while stripping out the toxins, okay? So the Berkey would be the best scenario in all of this because you don't have to remineralize it, and so you get the good minerals, you get rid of the bad minerals. So if you're in the market to buy a system, I personally would recommend the Berkey. I have the reverse osmosis. If I were to do it all over again, I'd probably get the Berkey system, okay? So those are the different types of filtered water. So let me just run through those again. You got the carbon filter, which I don't recommend. Distilled is fine if you're going to buy it at the store. Reverse osmosis if you have a tap. And then the Berkey if you are in the market to buy a filtering system. So that's the second type. That's the filtered. The third type is spring water. Spring water is great. It has the minerals in it. The only problem with spring water is you don't really know what you're buying. You can go to the store and buy spring water. They can say that it's spring water, but it could be tap water. There's no guarantee of what's actually in that bottle. That's my only issue, real issue with spring water, is not knowing for sure if it's clean and if it's good spring water and if the spring water is actually what's in there. Okay, so that's my only concern about spring water. Then the last type of water that you can get would be just the water that you're drinking in your like fresh made juices or kombucha tea. So I, for example, drink fresh homemade vegetable juice every day. That's part of my water intake because plants naturally have distilled water in them. So when you're looking at, so that goes into how much water should I be drinking. So the best type of water, we discussed the 4 different options there. So I would say the best type would be the Berkey, the distilled, or the reverse osmosis, or spring if you know that it's a good quality spring. So there's several options there. But if you're also drinking, for example, vegetable juice, that's going to count towards your water intake because plants are naturally hydrating high in distilled water. Because really the purpose of water is to hydrate, right? So actually to get a lot of the water content that we need, it's best to do a lot of fruits and vegetables. They're high water content. The body is designed to absorb water in fruits and vegetables much more readily than just drinking water, okay? So if you're going to be drinking vegetable juice, then that counts towards your water. If you're making homemade kombucha tea or even buying fermented kombucha tea, that's going to count towards your water. So as you can see here, when you're adding liquids in other forms, if you drink tea, that counts towards your water. Now, the one thing that doesn't count towards your water is coffee. Coffee is actually going to take you into debt with water. It's going to dehydrate you. I've seen people say that it, dehydrates you up to, it takes like 8 cups of water to rehydrate you from a cup of coffee. I don't know how true that is. I do know, however, though, that coffee is a diuretic and it does dehydrate. So if you're drinking coffee, that puts you in the red, okay? You definitely have to make up for that drinking coffee and try to avoid coffee, of course. Tea is a much better option. Okay, so hopefully that helps you determine the best type of water to drink and then how much water. It's gonna be half your body weight in fluid ounces. If you weigh 150 pounds, you need 75 ounces of water or liquid in this case, because you count vegetable juices, you count kombucha tea. If you're doing homemade bone broth is another great example. Those all count. Coffee doesn't count. Store-bought bottled juice, that's acidic and dehydrating. That doesn't count. So you have to know, we're talking about healthy liquids here. We're not talking about soda, Coca-Cola, Gatorade. Those really don't count. They're counterproductive because they're not healthy. And then the best time to be drinking water is going to be an hour after food or a half an hour before your meals. Because if you drink too much water with your meals, it's going to dilute your digestive juices and compromise digestion. So you can sip a little bit of water to drink your meal down, but you don't want to drink a lot of water close to meals or with your meal. So a half an hour before or an hour after meals is going to be the best time to drink most of your water. And hopefully that covers everything. You can also watch, I have a video on my detox drink and super water. I have a lot more videos. So this one, I just wanted to cover the best type of drinking water, how much, and when the best time to drink it is. Thank you for watching. You can check out my website, foodsthathealyou.com. You can email me at Catherine@foodsthathealyou.com. Follow us on Facebook. Watch my videos on Vimeo. All right. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.